Hi folks, John Dunn here, RPG freelancer, publisher behind Melior Via. I'm up here today with Mikey.
What is up, John? How is it going? It's hot as hell outside.
Well, it's not as bad here in Cleveland as some places have it, but it's toasty.
Right.
It's toasty.
We have it better.
We've got air conditioning down here.
In the dungeon.
Yes. So there's a lot to be said for that. Today, I thought we'd talk about conquering the galaxy.
Okay, because I feel like that's a very big task and
It's
a big responsibility.
Task, and it's something that hot days like this, they kind of raise your temper and make you want to take that rage out on something.
I was thinking about it, yeah.
Yeah, so a few years ago, I guess not a few years ago, but about a year, maybe going on 2 ago, we talked about Star Trek Adventures from Modiphius. You remember that?
Yeah.
We talked about all the different roles you could play as an agent of the Federation. Well, it's not a brand new book, but we've had it on the shelf, and I wanted to talk about it, and this is the Klingon version of Star Trek Adventures. So the main rule book, they just identify it as the core rule book. I'm going to call that the Starfleet rule book today, just to differentiate, because this is also a core rule book, but it's the core rule book for talking about the Klingon Empire. You watch much Trek?
No, not at all. In layman's terms, the Klingon Empire are...
So the Klingons were the archetypical bad guys in the original Star Trek when it came out in the 1960s. They were a violent warrior race. And, that's expanded an awful lot in the decades of Star Trek that's come out since then. And I've kind of been on a little Star Trek kick lately. I'm not normally a huge Trek guy, but I've really been digging this new Strange New Worlds show.
Yeah, I heard about that. Is that on Amazon Prime or something?
It's on Paramount.
Paramount, that's what it was.
Yeah, we should need a referral link if we're going to talk about it.
We do. I'll put it in the description.
All right. Anyway, it's a solid show. I've really been enjoying watching it, and that one and Lower Decks, which is kind of their cartoon comedy version of Trek. I think there's another season of that coming in development, and Modiphius has a book coming out for that too. If that's something that's up your alley, hit up Carlos and get a pre-order.
For that cartoon version? They have
absolutely.
That's going to be fun. We'll definitely talk about that.
I think so, yeah. But anyway, today we're going to talk about the Klingons, which are basically an honorable race that's bent on conquering the galaxy. And in the original series, they were the big opponents of the Federation because they had this huge military might that Starfleet was opposed to and could not bring themselves to ally with because their philosophies were so different. When Next Gen came around, that relationship changed quite a bit. But in any case, let's talk about the game. The important thing here, Jim Johnson was the lead guy on this. He's done a lot of other work for Modiphius, including some work on the Starfleet core, but he was not one of the lead designers on this. There was a big team of people that worked on this. A few that I know and have worked with before include Nathan Dowdell, Aaron Palia, Keith Garrett, and Patrick Goodman that I've worked with on other projects in the past. Just, hi guys, good work.
Hi.
This one is a 2D20 system, so that's kind of Modiphius' house system. That goes back to Mutant Chronicles. And this is a standalone rulebook. So if you are really interested in just playing a Klingon campaign, you do not need the Starfleet book in order to use it. You can just use one or the other. Now, having said that, they are very, very similar, very largely compatible. This one just kind of touches up a few things. So if you want to grab a Klingon character and play him with Starfleet or stick your Starfleet officer on board a Klingon ship, you could certainly do either one of those options. One thing that is very different about this, when I talked about the original, I talked about how it seemed like the interior design was just really consistent with Star Trek The Next Generation. So it looked like a lot of the images that you saw on screens in it. This one is done up very much to look like a Klingon artifact. So there is a lot. First off, the flyleafs have this nice map that includes everything in Klingon. And throughout the book, you've got this kind of Klingon-y, papery look and Klingon text on it. There's a lot of quotes that are in Klingon throughout, where you get the letters in Klingon characters, and then you get the phonetic version and a translation of it into English. So if you are really into that, that's absolutely there. One of the things I thought was awesome is some of the pages have blood spatters on them.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, people were arguing clearly when they were reviewing those pages.
Yeah, obviously something went down.
Definitely. The book opens with about 70 pages. That's kind of an introduction to the Klingon Empire. Talks about the history, the culture, the politics, and the houses. So every Klingon is a member of a kind of a familial type lineage there with their houses. It talks about the Defense Force, which is presumably the organization that the PCs work for, some of the worlds and locations that are critical to the Klingon Empire, and then suggestions for playing in different eras. And it also gives you a handy viewing guide. So if you really want to brush up on what episodes featured the Klingons heavily, it tells you which ones to go and look through. After that, it covers the 2D20 system. It's, like I said, mechanically compatible with Star Trek Adventures if you already have that. Really just minor tweaks at most, some minor revisions to things. And some of those you might want to backdate into your Star Trek Adventures book. They're just minor fixes that make things go a little bit more smoothly. Then we dive into character creation. All the characters are assumed to be Klingons, but there is a little sidebar that talks about mixed species, like if you want a Klingon-human hybrid character or a Klingon-Romulan hybrid character, because those are totally things that happen in Star Trek. After you pick your Klingon race, then you pick your caste, which could be a warrior, a merchant, agriculture, scientific, artistic, or academic. And then it moves on to creating a house. So if you don't want to use one of the established houses, you can create your own for your character. The next chapter is weapons and technology. Now, in the original Starfleet version of the book, that chapter is called Technology and Equipment, right? Because Starfleet's a peaceful organization. Klingons, not so much. So weapons are a big focus, right? And so there are more weapons covered here than there are in the Starfleet version of the core. The next chapter is called Conflict. That one's actually the same in both because it covers, physical conflict and social conflict. And then in the Starfleet book, the chapter after that is Home in the Stars. The Klingon version is To Command the Stars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rightfully
and this
so.
has your starship combat rules, your starship construction rules, discussion on different star bases and colonies and alien vessels that you will surely come to dominate. There's a GM chapter after that, and there are definitely tonal shifts and tweaks to the way you're going to want to present adventures here that are very different from the version of the same chapter that's presented in the Starfleet core. Next up, you get a Klingon campaign section, which is very specific to Klingons, right? These are adventure ideas, how you want to write your campaign, and the kind of themes that you want to integrate into it, which are going to be very different than Starfleet themes. Much more aggressive and dominating and honor-focused than Starfleet's peaceful exploration initiative. Chapter after that is Allies and Adversaries. You get an awful lot of Klingons because they are going to be your allies and sometimes your adversaries. You get a whole lot of Federation characters from different eras included. Romulans, Cardassians, Ferengi, the Dominion, the Borg, and then a section of beasts, so basically alien monsters. Last bit is a sample adventure, and then that's followed up with an appendix that does include a language primer. This isn't going to get you going like, a full book of Klingon lessons, but it gets you the gist so that you can, pretty much flavor the games as you're playing through them. It's 380 pages for hardcover from Modiphius, and I believe this guy is about $60. Mike, you can probably verify that for me.
Yeah, for sure. We'll put in the link in the description. You can go look at our website.
We do have copies up here on the shelf or available at immortalsinc.com. If the Klingon Empire is something that you think would be fun to explore, or even if you're going to use them as a recurring opponent for your Star Trek campaign, definitely want to check this out.
Well said, John. And I know we talked about this, the Starfleet book. We talked about that one already,
We did
right?
talk about this one already,
So
yeah.
the cover's different on this one than the one we talked about initially, right?
I don't think so. I think that's the same book.
Because I thought it was the first cover we talked about was that it showed like just one person on there, and then it was like the big atmosphere. He was outside.
I think that was an interior picture.
Was it an interior
Yeah.
picture? Okay, that's what kind of caught me off guard. But yeah, it's really cool. It's cool how they like flipped and kind of made the chapters kind of coexisted
how they're
with one another.
complementary and
Yeah.
different themes. Also, I should mention the art in here is fantastic. Just
Yeah,
flipping
I
through
like
it.
that first initial map that they have
There's,
too.
and I'm not naturally finding any, but there's one of the nice blood splatters. There's a good balance of new illustrations and things that are very clearly drawn from existing IP material. So definitely want to check that part out.
Check it out. Links in the description. Thank you guys for watching.
Good gaming, folks.